Okay, so I know I just said that I'm not gonna be doing vlog kind of videos on this channel probably, but this is important and this is something that I really care about. And so I think it's worthy of making a video. Plus, I don't feel like writing about this. I feel like ranting into a camera about it. And it's about the whole COPPA thing on YouTube. And you've probably heard about it by now. In fact, by the time I upload this video, it might even be in effect. If you don't know, basically, COPPA is a law that says that you can't gather children's information through the internet, and children are considered anything under the age of 13. And that makes sense. You don't want people collecting private information on kids, but we've come to an age where it's not practical or even possible to prevent that. And YouTube, it does have the YouTube for Kids app, which is pretty much made to avoid violating that law, because the regular YouTube collects the information of all of its users to give them targeted ads, which is how YouTube makes all of its money. So kids are supposed to use the YouTube for Kids app, and you're in the guidelines, contract, or terms of use for YouTube. It says you need to be 13 and up. So that's it's supposed to solve the problem right there. Like, and I think the source of all this should be the parents. You know, parents should be aware of what websites do. You know, every website collects your data these days. That's inevitable. So if they're not okay with their kids going on to a website and having all their information gathered, they should either not let them use technology until they're 13, or try to find ways to avoid that, like using the YouTube Kids app. So that really should be the end of the fucking problem right there. But as we all know, there's a lot of kids on YouTube, both watching content and making content even. So that's where YouTube ran into this whole problem where they were inadvertently collecting children's information because they're on there when they weren't supposed to. And COPPA is like, you can't do that. So they fined YouTube $170 million, I think the number was. And now they're saying you gotta do stuff to prevent the kids who are on the site from having their information collected. So now YouTube's starting this thing where creators have to label each video that they make as whether it's marketed for kids or not marketed for kids, so that if you do market for kids, there's going to be kids watching, so those particular videos are not going to collect their data, so it's not going to show targeted ads, and there's going to be no comments to prevent people from, because YouTube had an issue before where pedophiles would go into the comment section of videos and like trick kids into giving them information. So they're going to turn off comments. They're going to turn off ads. The video is not going to be searchable, and the video is not going to be recommended. So the video might as well not even be on YouTube in the first place. And the stupidest thing of this whole thing is that this is all YouTube's fault. Okay, they well, not entirely. A lot of it is, but I'll see if I can make my point clear. I'm just rambling right now. No script. I just fucking came down to the basement as soon as I finished what I had to do today and just started recording. But so what the FCU, the Federal Communications FTC, Federal Trade Communication? I don't know. What they're saying is that now the responsibility is falling on the people who make the videos to make sure that information isn't being collected. And so if they make a video that's made for kids and they don't mark it as made for kids, then they're responsible and could be fined up to $42,000. That just doesn't make any fucking sense because and I feel like this is people are saying that obviously it's the parents' responsibility, but what the point that I haven't heard is just the fact that it's not the creators collecting the data, it's YouTube. Like, if I make a video for kids right now and I'm like, hey kids, I don't know, let's play with bouncy balls and whatever. I'm never gonna go, give me your email, give me your address, like, I'm not doing that. YouTube is the one collecting that information. But somehow it's my fault, like, $42,000, like, that's double what minimum wage is in a year, and that's per video. So, let's say that you're a kid. See, this is a situation that's the nightmare situation that's in my head that I feel like nobody has like brought up, because nobody has talked about whether this is a correctable offense or not. And what I mean by that is, if somebody looks at your video and sees that it's been mislabeled, and they're like, "Hey, this is mislabeled," are they gonna say right there and then, "You're fined for $42,000," or are they gonna say, "Change that before I fine you for $42,000," Because I feel like it should be a correctable offense where you can just change it and be like, "Oh, my bad, sorry." Because if not, just fucking imagine that there was a YouTuber who made all his videos were for kids, and he did this for years, right? And this is even before YouTube has fucking ads and shit. Like, this is like when YouTube first fucking started. And at one point he got busy with life, and so he had to drop that and got a regular job, blah blah blah. He's out of the loop. And in terms of YouTube culture and regulations and new stuff coming up, and he doesn't hear about this COPPA thing at all. And he even forgot his password for his YouTube. And years later, this whole COPPA thing gets enforced, and his entire channel is still on YouTube with all the fucking videos made for kids, and he's not there to fucking label them as for kids. And the FTC comes in and they're like, "You're fucking fined for 100 fucking videos that you made for $42,000 each." So that's $44 million, I think. I'm doing the math off of my head. $4,200,000, I think. Like, even one fucking video would fucking end, and not even end your career, but end your fucking life, because you be fucking owing to the IRS or whoever the fuck, the FCC, $40,000 for the rest of your life. But like, imagine, $4 million, like, like, is it a correctable offense? And in the situation I just created, the YouTube are gonna start implementing bots where they'll start labeling your videos for you. So if it's super obvious, I imagine that they'd be able to identify that those types of videos are made for kids, and that wouldn't be a problem. But we all know that bots don't fucking work, at least a lot of the fucking time. So it's very much possible still. And I mean, it's possible the other way around, that you make a video that's not meant for kids but gets labeled as such, and you're like, "Hey, this isn't made for kids," and then you want to switch it back so you can make revenue on it, and they're like, "No, this is for kids." People who are making content for kids are getting screwed, and people who aren't making content for kids are getting screwed, because obviously the people who are making content for kids are going to completely disappear off the platform, because there's no point in doing that if you can't make money off of it, if that's your revenue. And people who aren't making content for kids have to constantly worry that if there's something in their videos that could be deemed as something that kids would want to watch, that they're going to lose their revenue on that. Myself, I feel like I should be fine, because thinking off of the top of my head, I haven't made any videos that would be appealing to kids. And see, here's the thing. Here's the definition for whether or not you need to mark a video for kids on YouTube. So here are the criteria of whether or not a video is either meant for kids or supposed to be something that kids would want to watch. So, subject matter of the video. So it could be educational content for preschoolers, so that's obvious. Whether or not your intended or actual audience, whether children are your intended or actual audience for the video. So it says intended or actual. So even if you don't mean for your videos to be for kids, if your audience happens to be kids, then you have to mark it as for kids. Whether the video includes child actors or models, I don't have to worry about that. Whether the video includes characters, celebrities, or toys that appeal to children, including animated characters or cartoon figures. This is a part that concerns me personally, because even though all of my videos are talking about, basically, the only thing I do on this channel is heavy metal, and none of that is for kids, except for Heavy Saurus. And it's funny, I just fucking by the time this video goes up, I don't know if my website will be up or if I'll make a video on Heavy Saurus or not. But basically, the producer for Heavy Saurus, which if you don't know is a heavy metal band that's directed towards kids, he saw my video that I made a while ago about Heavy Saurus, and he's like, "Oh, this is really cool. I'd like you to do a review on the new song if you can." I'm like, "Sure." And now I'm afraid that I can't do that, because it contains characters or something or a piece of media that's directed towards kids. And I mean, technically, I still could do the video, but there'd be no point because nobody would be able to find it. Well, I mean, technically, I don't even have to worry about revenue because my channel isn't monetized yet. But like, I guess the biggest things for me right now is nobody's gonna be able to find the video. And then second, if I decide no, like my video isn't for kids, I just happen to be talking about a thing that's for kids, and they don't mark it, I could get fucking fined. So like I have to mark it as for kids just in case, and have my video watched by nobody and have wasted my time. And then there's a couple of bands that I've seen or heard of that are for kids or were made by kids, like Merp is one that I can think of off the top of my head. And then there's, I wasn't planning on talking about this girl or band unless I found out that they did a lot more music than what I had just seen on TV. But the girl that the name of the song was Zombie Skin. She was in America's Got Talent. She screamed the song. I don't know if they do more music other than what they did on America's Got Talent, but something like that. You know, that'd be something I would want to talk about. And now because they're made by kids, you know, one of the things was child actors, child performer, I'm imagining would be the same thing. Or they're directed towards kids. I have to mark it for kids, and then that's going to defeat the purpose of making the video because nobody's going to be able to find it if it's not searchable or if it's not suggested. And then I'm even if I make, like, for example, the games that I've done Let's Plays and streams on the channel too. You know, kids will play any kind of video game. Like, technically I should be safe because from what I remember, all the games that I've played are rated mature. And I feel like that should be enough argument to say, like, this isn't for kids. The rating is there. It's for 17 and up. If there's 13-year-olds, like, that's their fault. But kids play all sorts of video games, regardless of the rating. So let's say I'm playing Doom, and I'm like, oh, look at all these demons and killing, being all violent and shit, and then, like, there's all these kids being like, yeah, I like Doom too. Fucking, I get fined right there, you know, like, And I also wanted to do a Baby Metal review on their new album, but like I just feel like the criteria is so vague, and the FCC is filled with so many people who don't know anything about anything relating to the internet or YouTube or even culture. I think the president of YouTube said that she has to explain to people what YouTube is to people who don't even own cell phones. Like, not even fucking smartphones, like cell phones. Like, they use fucking landlines to talk to people and shit. And like, so if I make a video about Baby Metal, do I have to be afraid that because there's the word baby in the name of the band that people are going to think that that's directed towards kids? I mean, people who listen to heavy metal and listen to Baby Metal know what the band's about. You know, it's not like a thing for kids, like at all. But if a person from the FTC who doesn't own a fucking cell phone and doesn't know anything about anything sees a band called Baby Metal and sees young girls singing very poppy vocals on top of heavy metal, they might think it's an act for, metal act directed towards kids. Maybe people like us, my viewers, and probably most people in general, be able to see like, no, that's not the point. But like, imagine a person who just found out what YouTube was and saw this, and it's a very real possibility. Like, I can see that happening. So do I have to be afraid of fucking getting fined for doing Baby Metal videos? Like, so that's kind of where my concern comes from. And I didn't read all the criteria yet, because I went off on that one part, and I don't know how I'm gonna edit this, but I'm gonna read the rest now. Whether the language of the video is intended for children to understand, so that's not something I have to worry about. Whether the video includes activities that appeal to children, such as play acting, simple songs or games, or early education, I don't have to worry about that. Whether the video includes songs, stories, or poems for children, that I do have to worry about that because of the bands that I might talk about. Any other information you may have to help determine your video's audience, like empirical evidence of the video's audience. So basically, if your stats on your YouTube show that see, and here's another thing they just thought about that nobody's addressing. Is there a threshold? Is there a percentage threshold that the FCC is going to use to say, like, for example, if over 50% of the audience on your channel or video is kids, then that's when it's considered for kids. Because what they're saying is, if your stats show that kids are watching your videos, then you have to mark it as made for kids. But let's say that the percentage, because like kids aren't limited, because like I said, I make heavy metal. Kids usually aren't listening to heavy metal or looking for videos about heavy metal. But it's possible that they will, and musical taste is very varied and doesn't have any age attached to it. So there could be a kid who likes listening to heavy metal and is looking for that. So like, it's, even though your content is irrefutably not made for kids, it could be the most fucking violent, fucking vulgar video on YouTube. Kids are gonna happen to watch it or even be looking for that. So they're not addressing how much of your audience has to be kids for it to be considered for kids. Does it have to be the majority, so over 50%, or if it's any kids at all? Because that's not practical, and it's not possible. It's just impossible. Like, that's the thing about this whole regulation. It's impossible to enforce. You can't have 0% kids not going on to places where they shouldn't be. It's just really fucking stupid. So, like, that's kind of the things that I noticed that people are not bringing up. Percentage of audience, and if it's a correctable offense or not. And I'm really fucking concerned for creators who have been on the platform for years, who happen to have either, I don't watch kids content, obviously, because I'm not a kid or have kids. But, it's really bad for them. But because I'm personally attached to certain channels that I've been watching for years. Some of them, I was like Peanut Butter Gamer, Chatronic, JonTron, PewDiePie, any animation channel, Jaden Animations, they could easily all get wiped out by the beginning of next year, which is like a month. It's really hard to believe. I don't want to believe it. Even something like Rooster Teeth, like Red versus Blue or Ruby, like I can imagine kids watching that and finding that stuff either funny or cool. Like, but that's just not their audience, and yet they might get affected too. Like, what might happen is that all these creators are gonna have to migrate to another platform. It's very possible that some of them will not be able to. They may not find another platform that they can use. I would imagine someone like PewDiePie being okay because he's got the biggest hold on what he's doing, and he's been making games, like mobile games, and like he has merch, and like he has a lot of followers on social media, I'm imagining. So like someone like that will be okay, I think, and probably find a different thing to do entirely, or a different way to do the same thing he's currently doing. But like other people, like I don't know, and like I remember Jaden Animations was talking about in one video that she was gonna have to make a decision about whether she wants to keep doing YouTube because it's a very fickle thing, or try to find a more stable, normal career. And god damn it, that time has come. I was saying that this doesn't affect me a whole lot, but it could affect. I wanted to be a YouTuber for the longest time. I still want to. You know, if I could be like a music YouTuber, that'd be fucking phenomenal. Something like this. It's not even necessarily the fact that this is gonna mean the end for what I wanted to do, but just the fact that things like this can happen very suddenly. That's why I think I'm gonna have to stick to, like, I don't think Patreon would be subject to something like that, and I can always have my own website. I even think that Wix has an option to create subscriptions to get certain content. So, like, that might be the route that I have to take. But yeah, like, YouTube is a very uncertain thing. I have to be careful about the videos that I make and how I market them. It's so tough already trying to be advertiser friendly. Now you have to be advertiser friendly, but you have to be not kids friendly. So it's a weird thing. I think that's it. Thanks for listening to me rant. The video's gonna probably go up too fucking late anyways, because I don't fucking have internet right now. But those are my concerns, my thoughts. I think I went over everything that I wanted to go over. So if you want to support this channel and support what I do, by the time this goes up, I'll probably have my Patreon up, probably have my website up too. The link should be in the description. YouTube, I think I have to accept the fact that YouTube is not going to give me any kind of revenue. So I'll try to salvage what I can from that, but it's just going to have to be like a kind of like a secondary platform that I'm going to be using. If you can support in any way, website, Patreon, whenever the merch comes out, which I'm planning to do, and you know, that would be a huge help. Buying music, that would be the main thing, because I'm trying to be a musician here. I guess that's it. Gotta end the video. I'm impressed now. I gotta work on videos that I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to upload, so I'll see you next time.